Welcome everybody, I hope you guys are all doing great. So today we're going to talk about how to get an army in Norland. This is simple basics of no scenario, no type of modifiers or anything for the game. This is just playing straight old Norland. How do I get an army? So the first basic way of getting an army is recruiting your peasants. Now, your peasants normally do not want to be recruited into your army unless they are either unhappy or they're a fanatic and they're like, you know what, I actually want to be in your army if you're declared a saint, or they are a loyalist peasant. So one thing I've noticed with recruiting peasants is that when it comes to anybody that's below level 3 combat, they normally will not be a good warrior more or less until later. You have to train them up. But the biggest thing about it is the fact that most likely these guys do not prefer to actually be warriors. Anybody below level 3 combat tend to actually want to be more or less a peasant, unless they are a loyalist or they are a fanatic that they will join you no matter what, because they're all about you as a king or all about you as a saint. So the one thing I want you guys to keep in mind is when you're recruiting these peasants, let's say you're recruiting a peasant that's this peasant right here, unhappy peasant and everything, they will receive, like it says, a very strong negative thought of death. Now, the one thing I will say, which is great, that can negate this at least half the cost of this, is the technology of Caden army. Caden culture is probably the best culture to get an army pretty early, unless you want to become, maybe use Tanaya or use Macaw and become a saint. You can get an army with a couple fanatics early on and everything, but I don't know. I've only been doing loyalist and Caden army, and it's like extremely easy. So you get this book. So this book probably costs about 190 something gold, depending on your trade when you're trading it with the trader. Try and maybe see if you can get this book if you're a Caden, or if you're later on in the campaign and you can actually learn the Caden dictionary, so you can actually learn the language. Once you can do that, you can actually learn this book once you get it. It's the fear of death thought experienced by peasants hired into the army is half as strong. This is huge because the reason why it's pretty big is because of the fact that the book actually negates it by half, which the mood that usually a peasant will get is negative 56 mood, which is huge. Most likely it will drop them down to 1 and they will either desert or something. They most likely will desert, and usually the deserters will go and create like a little bit of a bandit camp and all that type of stuff. You kind of want to avoid doing that. It's one of the best technologies in the game if you're trying to actually recruit peasants into the army, simply because you don't want that fear of death thought. That fear of death thought is crumbling, especially if you need an army. So yeah, that's a great book to grab early on, simply because if you're trying to recruit your peasants into your army, you don't want them to be leaving you. Additionally, loyalists will stay, and they do actually want to join your army. So this is something I will say for peasants. If I really wanted to, and if I had the peasant power, I would grab these peasant loyalists and just put them into my army. The Caden also have a loyalty basics type of book that allows for more loyalists as well. And additionally, they also have eternal loyalists, which also will allow the loyalists to stay loyalists no matter what. So definitely a great book to grab. Next is grabbing prisoners. So bandit prisoners, as you guys can see right here. So you have loads and loads of bandit prisoners. You also have, I even have some of the bandits in my army that I trained up because I simply needed an army at the time, and I needed to recruit people that knew how to fight, that if I gave them a weapon, they were going to fight. Bandits usually have a combat of 3 to 5. I've rarely seen any bandits that go above 5 combat. Sometimes I think I've seen 6 or 7, but that means most likely that bandit army was like going around raiding villages and getting experience. So that can happen, but most likely you will find bandits that are between combat level 3 to 5. They are good to grab as an army, and it's something that you can grab as a nice little type of vagabond army. but you need to keep in mind that they used to be vagabonds. They will have a negative thought already of joining the army, and they will also have a negative thought because they would have yearned for freedom. They had freedom when they were, a vagabond, bandit on the side. They don't want to join, being in your army and stuff because they were already a prisoner. They want their freedom. But as you can see, bandits can become loyalists as well. So I have currently a bandit that is a loyalist, that he will stay with me no matter what now, and he used to be a bandit. So it can work out in the long run. And bandits, even, or vagabond, they do say vagabonds, this is considered vagabonds. With the vagabonds, they can join the army and they can actually stay in your army for a while. I haven't had a lot of deserters in a while. I think I've had one or two deserters, but that was simply because I grabbed them from a previous battle, which leads me into my next way of getting an army, more or less, is actually getting an army from other people. So when you fight other lords, for example, I previously had fought the Saxons. The Saxons had about an army of like 10. I sent about 20 men and I usually try and make sure, if they don't have a lot of axes or swords, I try and use a lot of maces, because maces will allow you to capture them, allow them to become prisoner, and then allows you to convert the prisoner in order to be a warrior. You obviously don't want to kill them because you want to capture them so that they can actually join you. So using maces is really good for capturing bandits and prisoners. I should have stated that, but just throwing that in now. Now, as you can see, these two warriors down over here are actually really unhappy. And it's because of the fact that they actually had defeat in battle. So they do get a joy of freedom when, they join you. This kind of stays here for a little while, for 3 days. But the defeat in battle usually is about -24 to maybe a bit higher. And they will have pain from injuries. So when you capture warriors from other factions or other provinces, or even marauders that come and attack your city, do keep in mind when you guys are bringing these guys in. I brought these guys in because I just needed to have them. I just needed an army just in case I got attacked. They will have a very negative thought and they can desert immediately. So maybe try and see if you allow them to kind of heal up a little bit, allow them to have some of this thought go away before you actually bring them into the army. This guy, the only reason he's not really happy is simply because I have him doing day patrol, so he's really not happy. But again, could kind of just not, you don't need to do that. You can avoid that. Next is mercenaries. So mercenaries are extremely easy to get if you have a lot of gold. If you have gold, you just come grab a mercenary here, mercenary here. You just grabbed a couple of mercenaries. You grabbed about an army of 4 people at a combat level of 4 to 6 to maybe even 9 for about 300 gold. Now, 300 gold, yeah, sometimes you can't really give that away because you want to buy books or you want to buy this. But if you're feeling like you really need an army because of the fact that, for example, you have a bandit camp around here that they can attack your villages and stop migration coming into your city, well, buy those mercenaries. Get them equipped with blunts, with maces, get them equipped with bows, and go and attack these bandit camps and get some prisoners. This will allow for your mercenaries to actually, get some combat skill, actually get the use out of them for the gold that they cost. But it's more like an emergency way of getting an army. The other thing as well about the mercenaries that they don't fully tell you is the fact that you can grab knights. So I do have a knight here, but he was actually a bastard child I had. But the knight here, Kulain, that's how you pronounce it. So this is actually a knight here. So he was a bastard child. You can make bastard childs now from lesser lords into knights, which is really good. Gives them knighthood. You can actually upgrade them and they can be really strong soldiers. Now, Kulain, however, was not a bastard. I actually recruited Kulain. He was about 324 gold. It is expensive to recruit these guys because they do have the knight skills. So more or less, they show it here. You can actually recruit these guys. They have a little bit of a banner next to them, which allows for them to command an army themselves. So they're kind of an upgraded. This is why they're like combat 15 as well. It allows them to command an army themselves, so you can actually send this guy and a couple men to go and take out the bandit camp, like if I wanted to right now. I just come click over here, assign, attack, on local, create a squad, boom. I'll select Kulain and then select an army, and boom, he's actually commanding the army without having to send one of my lords. Now, of course, you can send the lord, but usually you need them either doing knowledge or doing some type of management and everything like that. So just do keep this in mind. A knight is actually really, really important, and I think maybe some people might not be thinking, oh, I don't need a knight. I can just do whatever I want. I'll use my lords. I want them to fight in battle. 100%. I've done it. I've done it where I've used my lords to fight in battle. But this is a really great way of doing it. So, yeah. Another thing as well, in terms of gaining an army, but this is extremely, extremely slow, is again having bastard children and then turning them into knights. I don't know how many knights you can actually have. Currently, before the lesser knight update came, you can only have 2 knights. So for example, I have 2 knights right now, but it's not going to pop up with 2 more knights that I can recruit here. You can only have like 2 knights here. So I don't know whether I can continue to have bastard children and give them knighthood. But you never know. I'm going to be attempting this, but most likely I'll put it in the comment section below. Hey, yeah, you can actually make like unlimited bastard children and actually make them all turn into knights. Which is actually really good because of the fact that you can actually train their combat skill early on and train their command so that they can actually be better than mercenaries. And then you don't have to buy a mercenary that has the knight command because, you have your little bastard knights all around you. So, yeah. Anyways, I hope this video has definitely helped out. I hope, more or less this shows you how to recruit an army, how to get more or less your army up as fast as possible, especially when you're fighting. I have currently 2 enemies. One has 31 men and the other has 40, and their combat skill is pretty decent, except for mine is a bit higher, but still, it's always something that, when you're getting aggressive, like the enemy is aggressive on you or people are threatening you, you're gonna need an army, and this is hopefully how you make one. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll catch you guys in the next guide. Peace out.